Awesome. Yeah. So how y'all been?
Yeah, very good.
Good, yeah. How are you?
Very cool. Whew, it's been heavy. It's been a tough trail so far. It's a little more than we expected, but it's been a journey. I mean, the miles in the beginning were a little tougher than we expected, but
Yeah,
you gotta just keep taking it as it comes. So we've been good.
Oh,
awesome.
perfect.
Yeah, because you said
Yeah.
that the trail would actually already start a bit before hitting the trailhead. How was that bit?
So we actually did not do that because
Okay.
when we got down here, we had been doing more research once we got down and we're talking to some of the locals in the trail association. And with the record flooding down by Big Cypress, we were already going to be swimming swamp for 30 plus miles. So doing that route that Hardy had planned would make us do an extra, 30 to 40 miles of swamp
Mhm.
travel. And it was kind of like, you know what? We're already going to be doing a lot of swamp. So let's just hit it at the trailhead. So we actually changed plans kind of the last moment there. But I'm glad we did because we had to do another reroute 3 days in and we added more miles to the journey that way. So it kind of balanced itself out.
Mm.
Wow.
No. Yeah, I mean, the trail, we kind of knew that we were going to get through some flooding down in Big Cypress. So when we started, we knew our miles were going to be contingent on one, how hard we wanted to push through the swamp, and two, where those camp spots were in the swamp. So, I mean, the first 5 days, almost every day was contingent on something. So, like the first day was contingent on us getting a ride from the beginning of not Fort Lauderdale, but that area to the trail itself.
Yeah.
So nobody wanted to drive us all the way out to Oasis Visitor Center, no Ubers, stuff like that. So we got there a little later in the day, 10 a.m. So by the time we got there, we started stepping out the miles, and within the first mile, the swamp started getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And as we were going through there, it was some good pushing. Like you were ankle deep to knee deep pretty consistently. The second day would be where the no dry land whatsoever would happen, but the first day was kind of just consistent. Yeah, ankle to knee deep. Then you would hit a dry patch, and then you would hit maybe a mile of another water stretch, and then dry patch, so on. So first day was kind of pleasant. We did about 17. With our timing, our miles weren't going super fast through that type of travel. You're not gonna, unless you're floating on water, you're not gonna do 3 miles to 3.5 mile per hour on water travel. So yeah, the first day kind of broke us in pretty well for it.
Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah,
And what challenges did you?
yeah, yeah.
And after that,
Hmm?
you had still a lot of swamp. And how did it work with the rerouting?
Yeah, so the second day we actually had the majority of the Big Cypress Swamp. So the second day after we camped at mile 17-ish is when the consistent stretch hit. So there's a stretch. Oh, I'm trying out gear right now and it looks like it's about to go into the pool. But but so the second day we hit a stretch that was above 10 miles of you're not getting out of shin high to knee deep water. Like when I say not getting out of, there's not one dry speck of land around you at all. Like you're water traveling that entire time. So we were moving through that pretty good. We were able to hold a good pace. But then when we finally got out of that swamp, what was tough for us is you hit this interstate. So you hit I 70, I believe. I forget what interstate it exactly is, but with this year 2021 and COVID, there's a Seminole reservation that you instantly go into after the interstate, but it's closed as of this year. So what the FTA had recommended is they had this map that said you could take a shuttle around to get up to there, but they don't provide that service. So you have to either coordinate beforehand or hope you find a ride there. And we spent 4 to 5 hours at that rest area trying to find a ride around, and nobody
Mhm.
wanted to go through the closure. Like nobody wanted to drive through there because you can get in a lot of trouble, and it wasn't the best route. So while we're there, Hardy had built in a backup plan to do a it was about a 45-mile road walk. So like the Seminole Reservation went this way up to the trail, and his road walk went the complete opposite way and cut back. So ended up finally got a ride because you can't walk the interstate and you can't hitch the interstate. And it's like the way it's set up is you pop out of the swamp, and on either side, it's like 20 miles to any road. There's no connectors. You can't do back roads to walk through it. Like you have to walk the interstate, and you can't do that. So we got to the end of the interstate and started our alternate there because to compensate for the rerouted miles. And that made our third day, we pushed, like exposed, just we got sunburnt to a crisp. 36 miles our third day, and pavement pounding 36 miles aggressively on your third day, it'll catch up to you pretty fast.
Yeah. Did you have any issues with the feet? I mean, walking through the swamp, being wet constantly, was that causing a little bit of issues?
I don't know if issues is the right word. I think it's just body acclimation. So Hardy had more blisters in this past week, kind of after the swamp, because it's been dry and hot lately. I think my feet are just bricks of callus at this point. And when you're going through the swamp, like, so the beginning was consistent swamp, but then in a given day, when you're doing about 30s, you will hit patches of swampy land throughout that time. So you'll dip your feet in, they'll get wet, and then you'll have to pound out some miles, and then they'll get re-wet. So the feet, it's more so just the consistent pounding. They're not getting torn apart too bad, but they feel it by the end of the day.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Not a very pleasant thing, I would believe, having wet feet and walking.
Yeah, it's kind of how we structured it, though. We were looking to go into it strongly, and we're still not 100% at our ballpark pace that we had set out to do, but we're within that comfortable margin again. Like, we might have been a little gung-ho to instantly start chewing 35s off, and we were able to get a 36 in there, a 32, and now it's been pretty consistently 30s. And with that acclimation time on trail, since a lot of the Florida Trail has that swamp and then connector road walk, people think that up and down is a lot of tough miles, but sometimes those flat miles are somewhat tougher because you're only using one muscle group.
Yeah.
And it's getting stuck in that muscle group. So it's been a good acclimation, but our bodies are finally starting to catch up to what we're demanding of them.
Yeah.
Because you're a bit over 2 weeks in currently, is it? 17, 16 for you.
Yeah.
This is
so we're about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So we're about 16 days in.
And how many miles?
We're right above 400 right now. So I didn't do the average before hopping on here, but today was a Nero day. We only did 9 miles. This is our first town stop in about 250 miles.
Yeah.
So this Nero would eat into that average a little bit. What's really bringing that average down is the first 2 days in the swamp, and that interstate kind of thing that kind of messed us up. And then we had another 20. That has been pretty much 28, 29s, and then 30s pretty consistently. But then this one will bring it back down.
Yeah.
But after this upcoming section where we hold our miles, we'll be able to hit like right around that 30 mile per. Again, I was about to say 30 mile per hour, 30 mile per day, 30 mile per day average. We might not be exactly at it, but we'll be like right close to it by the end of this upcoming section. Yeah.
So you mentioned that there was about 250 miles between your previous town stop and your current town stop. How did you manage that in between?
With food and everything.
Yeah.
Not well. But with food, so you picked up food in the town of Clewiston or Okeechobee. Those were kind of your two options if you did the west route around Lake Okeechobee. And then from there, we packed out for about 5 or 6 days. And then there's a place called River Ranch around mile 240-ish on the official Florida Trail miles that you can take about a half mile off. You can walk to this like little general store. It's kind of like a ranch type area, and you could resupply there to get you the rest of the way. So when I say 250 miles, no town stops, it's no rest and recoup stops. It's
Okay.
They had River Ranch as a resupply point, which you can also send boxes to. And then about 2 days ago, which is not really a spot, you can also walk off about 0.7 to this town of Christmas. And all they have is like a deli there, which we packed out 2 subs from. So for food, you're going to still have long sections through there from Clewiston to River Ranch, then River Ranch to Heathrow. You're still going to have long sections in there. But it seems like the way the Florida Trail is set up is we're trying not to go off trail as much as possible. Like there's always the potential of those sections. Like we saw on our maps, you could hitch 10 to 15 miles off trail to resupply at some other town.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be that remote. Like you always have the option to. It's just that's the way we're trying to move through the trail system.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I think you mentioned as well that in the message that you sent us that this was the first opportunity for proper shower and I think drying some gear in the background.
Yeah, drying out all the gear by the pool. It was the first. It was the first time in about 10 days. I don't know. It's right around that mark, but it's been a long time since a shower and laundry. And we've been getting hit by these like pockets of storms as we've been going through the trail. So Florida weather will come in really heavy with these storms and hit you from anywhere from a half hour to an hour of like dense storms. And then you'll be baking in heat again.
Yeah.
But you think these pockets of storms would get you cleaner, like wash your clothes out. There was so much oil in our clothes that after the storms hit, we would be more sticky than actually clean at that point. And it was just
nice.
it was so nasty. So we really needed a shower and laundry. Like the past few days as we were getting close to this spot, we were talking about it because like usually you crave town food and you just crave relaxing, stuff like that. All we craved was getting clean. Like it was just so sweaty. Like every piece of gear smelled, stuck to us. It was just, we were swampy. We were quite swampy.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
It is. I could go into one of my first, I don't think I've ever had this happen to me to this degree. I had a horror story with some ants about 4 days back.
No.
So I've moved from Cook because I wanted to do this trail for Cook to no Cook because one, it's been super, super hot, but one night I had cooked the night previously, some mac and cheese to eat for dinner, put the food pot in the bag and packed it out. And the next night, get to camp and I wasn't going to cook that night. So kind of put the food close by and I wake up around 4 or 5 because we begin out of camp around like 5:30-ish. And so I wake up and I feel like stuff crawling on me. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's just a mosquito in the tent or it's something else. So I shine my headlamp on and there's literally thousands of ants in my tent. They had chewed their way through the base floor of my tent. They wanted the stuff in my tent so much that they had literally chewed their way through. And there was, you couldn't see the tent floor. It was just, it was layers of ants. So I got some film that I'm going to upload while in town here that it's just disgusting. I was not happy about that.
I can very much imagine so.
Yeah.
That's a horrible way to wake up.
It made us hike faster though.
Yeah.
Once you're trying to hike away from ants, it'll push your pace for sure.
Just gets me itchy now.
It gives you the shivers. If you want to hear something really fun, I was picking out ants from my gear for the past 4 days after that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So
Yeah.
they had literally gotten into, and I shook my gear out before I packed it up that morning, but they had literally gotten into like every crevice of my sleeping bag, my food bag, my clothes bag, my tent, of course. I was picking them out of my stuff for days.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so it's been a journey of a first trail to start off the year.
Yeah,
So far.
But it's meeting expectations.
Yeah, so like the Florida Trail, I mean, it's hard to compare any trail to another trail system. Like no matter what it is, even if it's an out west trail that is mountainous, so like the PNT to the CDT, like they have their similarities, but of course they're always going to be different. So the Florida Trail, if you know your expectations going into it, you're going to enjoy the journey for what it is. Like we're not climbing mountains, but there's a lot of beauty in each day, and there's a lot of road walks in each day simply as well. I mean, that's how the Florida Trail routes it. And it's just, you got to transition the scope of what you're looking for. So like some people purposely look for this type of hike, and that's awesome. And we're really enjoying it in its own retrospect. Like we both have preferences towards out west and mountainous type of hiking, but we're enjoying this type of hiking for what it is, for being the Florida Trail. And that type of swamp travel, even though it's difficult, you still enjoy it because I've never done something like that that consistently. So
Yeah.
it's meeting its expectations. You knew it was going to be hot, you knew it was going to be dry, you knew you were going to get sunburnt. You didn't know about the ants, but you knew all the other stuff.
Well, now you know.
Yeah.
And do you meet a lot of other people on the trail, or is it pretty quiet at this stage?
So we kind of started late and kind of out of season. February 1st is somewhat of a late start for northbounders. We've been closing the gap a little bit. We were in contact with someone we know that's up about a week and a half ahead of us. And that's kind of where the bubble of northbounders is. So by the time we get to the Panhandle, which is another 400 or 500 miles, we should be kind of right in that gap of where all the Nobos are.
Yeah.
But besides that, though, we ran into one section hiker, southbounder, seriously cool chick. I don't know if she would want me to say her name on here or not, but she seriously cool chick, and she kind of does all these adventures, and she had all these plans for 2021, going to Japan, all this stuff, but plans had to shift again. So besides that, it's been me and Hardy, and just meeting really friendly Florida Trail locals. We've met some really cool people along the way that they'll just stop. Hardy got some cherry tomatoes on a road walk the other day. We were walking by a farmer's ranch, and he comes out and starts talking to us. Didn't know the Florida Trail was in his front yard, and he's like, so after 5 or 10 minutes, he's like, "Oh, I got all these cherry tomatoes," and he's like, "They'll last for days." So we pictured him coming out with like bushels of them. So we're like, "Well, we're gonna get to town in a day or two. We don't need that many." So he gave Hardy some. So some very, very friendly locals, but not many through hikers.
No.
Oh, well, that's good though. And how did your transition go from working, preparing to starting the hiking season?
It was kind of the baseline that I expected to a degree, because I've been doing this for a long time. So it's not seamless. Like it still has its moments of getting not fully out of that mentality, but spacing that mentality. So like spacing the work mentality and the trail mentality, even though they're merged, still while being on trail presently for those miles ahead each day. So I think it's still a work in progress. I mean, only been on trail for 2 weeks, so the acclimation is still happening, but the instant acclimation from stepping off of work into trail, it feels like I'm back in it. It feels like home, really. So it feels like I just stepped right back into it. But as we touched on, this year is going to be a different type of connotation. And I've already noticed that. It's just, that's going to take a little longer to balance more properly. But everything else, it feels very, very good to be back.
Awesome.
Perfect. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I had another scare though on the Florida Trail. So I don't know, in my next videos that I'll be uploading, it will have this, but I had to make a makeshift. Did I tell you guys? I think we had touched on my old knee injury from years prior.
Mm-hmm.
So around day 4, that started acting up again, and my knee swelled pretty bad. It swelled to the point that it was 2 times or 3 times the regular size.
Okay.
And I was really worried because we were already behind our pace and we needed to go faster, not slower. So I kind of made a makeshift tourniquet, and I've done this before with the buff. And I think we had touched on, I use the buff as kind of a all-purpose kind of body healer or whatever. So today was actually the first day I was able to take it off because the knee has started to go down. But there were a few days in there that when I would get to camp, I couldn't bend my knee again. So like if I would shift at nighttime and I would turn, my knee would just send excruciating pain through me. And I think it's because the road walks of Florida, again, like the Natchez, it sparked something that it wasn't happy about. And from doing those flat miles, you don't have a break. You're just doing the same repetitive movement. So I think those flat miles I've learned in the past few years, starting off flat, you think it's going to be easier for acclimation, but it actually targets the weak muscles almost instantly. And it was worrisome for a while.
Well, good to hear that it's getting a little bit better at this moment. So hopefully it doesn't play up again in the next section.
Thank you. Yeah, it's this type of injury I've noticed is usually centered around beginning a trail after it's kind of done for the rest of the year. So like dependent on what it is, it seems like the muscle groups around it quickly compensate for the weak part of it. And once those muscle groups start compensating for it, you only get stronger as you go down trail. Granted, at the end of 8,000 miles this year, it might be a parabola curve that I'm going to hit a spot and then kind of start going downhill. But for the years prior, I've noticed that it'll be that beginning and then it just keeps getting stronger.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do the next couple of days look like?
So we're going to be doing at least 30s. That's what our plan is for the rest of the trail, pretty much. So our body and our pace is there now. So the next few days, we're taking today off, drying out our gear, doing, we did 9-ish miles to get into here, just putting the feet up, just relaxing. But the days after this, we're going to finish Central Florida, at least the map system for Central Florida, tomorrow or the day after. And then it looks a lot of the similar stuff that we've been doing. It's that kind of blend of really saturated ground / swamp. Then you're on road walk or you're on prairies, and we'll be getting to Ocala forest soon, which I think is going to be a little bit of a change. I think it's going to be more wooded for longer, which will be really nice.
Yeah.
Because I think the southern section was more that open prairie type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see small tweaks and change, but I think for the most part, the next 200, 300 miles are very similar in kind of what you'll experience within the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the Florida Trail. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. We're both happy. We're both really enjoying it. And it's nice to feel that we're getting to the point that we can start hitting those higher mile days and consistently hold what we want to hold. And yeah, I'm going no cook for the rest of the time too. I'm not gonna cook anymore out here.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah. Oh,
perfect.
So nasty.
Yeah.
So the rest of the day will be rest, laundry, and some swimming.
I don't know about swimming. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Hardy said he's about to hop in. So we did laundry already 2 times. The very nice lady out in front here she never met Florida trail hikers, even though this hotel is literally 0.2 off trail. If I looked in that direction, I could see the trail, which is the sidewalk through this area. And she never met them. So she kind of gave us a weary look when we first came in, because we were coming off a section of 10 days and we smelled bad, like terrible. But quickly you could see the smile went to her eyes, and she's like, oh, they're out here doing something cool, having a good time. And she let us check in super early, which was awesome. So yeah, we got 2 loads of laundry done, and then Hardy said he's gonna hop in. The stuff's gonna dry out here shortly, and then I got a lot of video footage to upload. Gotta get into my email, selecting that. Gotta hop on the website and take care of anything that needs to be taken. But also we'll try to find that rest in. Apparently, I didn't know about this, but apparently it's Mardi Gras somewhere around here. Like not somewhere around here, but it's Mardi Gras day. So Hardy got some special donuts at the Publix right down the street, and that's how we found out. So I don't think we're gonna do anything special for it besides eat special donuts.
Yeah. Cool.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. It's the plan. Just calorie pack as much as we can, and yeah, just rest in any capacity we can, because the next section we're going to try to do that 200-300 miles again without a town stop. So we know we're going to get close to the same amount of sweaty and nasty. So we're trying to soak in the dry, the sunshine, the not smelly, just all the good stuff right now.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was really good catching up.
Yeah, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest.
I kind